Texans coach, and they criticized J.J. Watt. They said, quote, he's selfish, only cared about his stats. He does a lot of things that hurt the defense. I wouldn't want him. He hurt us sometimes more than he helped us. So what you're saying is he's a little rogue. That's been the knock on Ndamukong Suh for years. He's a little bit of a, doing his own thing, a little bit of a freelancer. For the record, I've heard a little bit of that with J.J. Watt, a little bit. Now, this morning, it's interesting. If I lined up, and this goes along the lines of what, the big sports betting companies think, if I looked at the NFC West this morning, I would take the Rams to win the division. They won 10 games last year with Jared Goff. I think Matt Stafford's worth a win. I'd have the Rams winning the NFC West at 11-5. I would have San Francisco, if Jimmy Garoppolo is healthy, if he's healthy, battling them for second place. I'm selling some of my stock on Seattle, but they have Russell Wilson, so I'd pick them third, and Arizona fourth. Not a shot, but it's the best division in football. So J.J. Watt did not choose the best team in his own division. He didn't choose the best roster in his own division. He didn't choose the best Super Bowl odds in his own division. He picked probably the fourth best coach in a division. Some would argue the fourth best quarterback in his division. He didn't choose an area that was closer to home. Arizona was fourth in sacks last year. He didn't choose a place where he'd have the greatest impact. It may just be this easy. J.J. Watt chose the place that was best for him and his wife, Kalia. And that's it. She's a pro athlete. He's a pro athlete. They don't have to have a second home with warm weather. They can go train in the off-season. It's just a good place to play some golf, drink some margaritas in the off-season, and he and his wife can train together outdoors in their beautiful house. Matt Stafford, by the way, was on the market. Many suitors. He chose the Rams, which is the toughest division in football. Why, we found out? He liked Los Angeles. He had a home here. He liked the weather. Off seasons are easier. He's kind of worn out from Michigan winters. I mean, he grew up in Texas, played at Georgia. He was tired of the winters. Think about where the stars choose. KD chose Brooklyn. Huh? Kawhi chose the Clippers. Tom Brady chose the Buccaneers. As you age, things that were less important become really important. Think about the final two choices for J.J. Watt. On one shoulder, there's a little Buffalo Bill. Hey, we are a player away from a Super Bowl. You are going to win the division. And on the other side was a little devil, and he was wearing Arizona colors, and he's like, it's Buffalo. You're going to have a second home. Does your wife really want to live in Buffalo? They jump on tables. And it's kind of crazy. Arizona's more laid back. You can golf in the off-season. You can golf in the season. Think about the two places that were the final places. He probably felt guilty a little bit for choosing Arizona, so he includes Buffalo, because that was, as Joey and I talked about, that's the place where he can literally, they're going to win their division next year. They feel like they're a pass rush away from the Super Bowl. Tennessee doesn't. Green Bay doesn't necessarily. They already had a pretty good pass rush. So the final two places came down to one place where it made total football sense, and they finished second to the place that didn't make really any football sense. And that's okay. We tend to, in the media, try to figure out what the best place for the athlete is. He fits the scheme, the division, and LeBron James chose Miami. They weren't good when he got there, and the Lakers. They were terrible when he got there. But both cities, for a kid that grew up in Akron, a lot of sex appeal, a lot of fun. You can get free agents to come and play there. We're always trying to figure out where players are going to go. We're almost always wrong. In my gut feeling this morning, and I've moved 4 different times to different places. I think, Joy, you've moved 3 or 4 different times. It's never, you get that yellow notepad out, and I guarantee you J.J. Watt did with his wife, Kalia, and they wrote down stuff, and we'd be wrong in all the guesses. And I'm here to tell you, I bet some of it was this. Cliff Kingsbury has a reputation. He doesn't grind players at practice. He's very Sean McVay. J.J. Watt's a Hall of Famer. Does he want to grind at practice? J.J. Watt shows up on Sunday and kicks your arse. He doesn't need to grind at practice. He don't want to get hurt at practice. You may have put that one down. Where do my wife and I in the off season, you live in a cold place. You got to have a second home. In Arizona, you don't. So all those little things you write down on a list as we age, when I was 20, professional success was everything. I'm 50. I'm more into my kids' success. Like, pro athletes are the same. KD to Brooklyn, Kawhi to the Clippers, Brady to the Buccaneers, J.J. Watt to Arizona. It may have just been as simple as, I'm married now, the off seasons matter now, money's good enough, and winning, if it happens, great. If it doesn't, I still make the Hall of Fame. And that's okay, too. All right, so I saw this story. Jane Slater is a reporter I trust. She is talking, her sources are telling her yesterday on the Dan Patrick Show on how Dak is not budging on his salary demands.
His money was in the ballpark of Russell Wilson / Jared Goff type money. Now he's looking to be paid right behind Patrick Mahomes, a guy who's gone to the Super Bowl 2 years in a row. Dak hasn't done that yet, so they feel like it's been a respectable offer. His camp believes that he needs to bear what the market value is, and they feel like this deal should have gotten done 2 years ago, so your problems with money aren't our problems. It's about respect.
If you trust that report, and I do, is it possible devoted and dependable Dak has become delusional Dak? So let's pretend, we'll play a game here, that quarterbacks were paid in order based on two things. Now, talent's obviously a big deal, but I think it's actually second place to how valuable you are. Because I've seen Bill Belichick give up a lot of talented players. He rarely gives up valuable players. In fact, our sports leagues all have awards called Most Valuable Player. None of them have Most Talented Player. Joy and I have been in this business for 30 years. Companies move on from talented people all the time. Valuable people, they'll move on from valuable people. So if you were paid based on your talent and how valuable you are, to me, there's three tiers. The first tier is four guys: Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and Josh Allen. And let me describe each. Seattle runs an antiquated offense. Pete Carroll was fired twice and had a losing record in Seattle before Russell Wilson. What is Seattle offensively without Russell Wilson? Tom Brady not only moves your team in the right direction, he gives you Super Bowls at the end. He changed a goofy Buccaneer franchise into a place now, we argue, everybody wants to play. Aaron Rodgers doesn't give you many Super Bowls, but Green Bay has historically been awful when he doesn't play. And then Josh Allen. Josh Allen's their best running back. He's their best running weapon. He's their best throwing weapon on a historically last 20 years in that franchise. They're now a Super Bowl conversation team. The second tier, and I know what you're saying, Patrick Mahomes? Well, Andy Reid has 13 playoff wins without Patrick Mahomes. 2 years ago, they beat the playoff Vikings without Patrick Mahomes and should have beaten the Packers. The Kansas City Chiefs were a good franchise forever without Patrick Mahomes. And with all their weapons today, if Patrick Mahomes was not the Chiefs quarterback, I believe, we saw it with Alex Smith, they'd be a playoff team. So the second tier, Patrick Mahomes is a mega talent, but not quite as valuable as the first four. Deshaun Watson, again, mega talent, but he went 4-12 this year. And oh, by the way, Bill O'Brien won that division with Brock Osweiler. Look it up. I did. I don't remember it, but it happened. Lamar Jackson is damn good. But Baltimore won a lot of games in the Super Bowl without him. And then Jimmy Garoppolo. I know what you're saying. Come on, Colin. Kyle Shanahan is a great coach, has won 25% of his NFL games without Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm sorry, I've hurt your feelings. That's called valuable. Everybody else in the NFL is tier 3. Pretty talented, sometimes valuable. Let's remember that in the last 17 starts, Dak Prescott is 6-11. They were 5-5 with Andy Dalton last year. If you count the game he came in initially and led them to a win against the New York Giants, they were behind. Dak got hurt. He came in and won. Dak was 8-8 in 2019, 6-11 his last 17 starts. And in games he started and finished last year, he was 1-3. Andy Dalton, if you count the game he replaced Dak against the Giants, was 5-5. Now, Dak's better than Andy Dalton. I am not in any way insinuating he is not. But if Dak is saying this morning, I'm worth Patrick Mahomes' money, I'm going to struggle with that. And I like Dak, but that's dependable, devoted Dak to delusional Dak. You got to kind of know, if you go into contract negotiations, you got to kind of know the temperature in the room. To me, there's 4 guys that are tier 1. They can kind of name their price. And there's another 4 or 5 guys, maybe even more talented, but don't quite feel as valuable to the franchise. Garoppolo would be the opposite. I don't think he's a mega talent, but I think he's super valuable to San Francisco. Everybody else is kind of